Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Yesterday I put 8 fractions on the board. I asked you to simplify those fractions, do the work in your journal, write just the answers on a note card, and then turn that note card in. Luckily for you, I have yet to grade it, so as I go over these, you'll be able to write them in your journal, and then if you need to, you'll be able to write it on a note card, and you'll be able to turn it in. So at the end, everybody should have 100 on it. You can take out your note card if you didn't get them all right, and you'll know if you got them all right by looking in your journal. Boom. Man, you're so nice. Our first fraction, number 1, was 8/64. 8/64. You should already have this done in your journal. But let's start off by listing the factors of 8 and the factors of 64. So Bryce, what are my factors of 8?
1 times 8 and 2 times 4.
Good. 1 times 8, 2 times 4. And that's not what I want. Audrina, what are my factors of 64?
1 times 64, 2 times 62, and 8 times 8, and 4 times 16.
4, 2 times 32, 8 times 8, 4 times 16. Did I get them all? You rattled those off like an auctioneer so fast. Let's see. Bassett, tell me what they have in common.
They have the 1 in common.
Yes.
They have the 2 in common.
Yep.
And the 4.
And the 4.
And the 8.
And the 8. So Bassett, what is the greatest common factor? The biggest one they have in common? 8. So our greatest common factor is 8. Okay. Once I know my greatest common factor, I divide both my numerator and denominator by that greatest common factor. You should be following along in your journal to make sure you have this written down in your journal. Good, 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 good. Okay, so I found the greatest common factor, the biggest one they had in common, and that's what I'm going to divide both my numerator and denominator by. Because I can't just do 1. I'm dividing by 1. I'm dividing by 1. And if you divide something by 1, you're not changing the value. We're trying to find an equivalent fraction. Emilio, what is 8 divided by 8? 1. Amelia, what is 64 divided by 8? 8. So the answer to number 1 is 1/8. So on your note card, you should have 1/8 for number 1. The second one was 40/64. Now the beauty of this is we've already gotten 64 down on our paper. That's why I asked you not to erase your work. Because if you erase your work, then you don't have it to look back at, and plus when you come up to me and say, I don't understand this, I can't look at it and say, hey, this is where we went wrong. So as long as I can find the answer, don't erase your work. Just leave it on there. So we've already done 64, so I'm just going to put that up there again. 2 and 32, 4 and 16, 8 and 8. So now we need to do the factors of 40, and I'm using Team Shake because I paid 99 cents for it, so I'm going to get my money's worth. So Jake, what are my factors of 40?
1 times 40, 2 times 20, and 8 times 5.
4 times
5.
10. 4 times 10. Good. 4 times 10. So those are my factors of 40, and I have my factors of 64. Stephanie, what do they have in common? What shows up in both of these?
1 and 1,
Good.
2 and 2,
Good.
4 and 4,
Good.
8
Good. And that's it, right? Okay? So all my common factors, they have a 1 in common, a 2 in common, a 4 in common, and an 8 in common. Reagan, what is my greatest common factor? 8. Once I know my greatest common factor, I divide both my numerator and denominator by that. Whatever I do to my numerator, I have to do to the same thing to my denominator, or I'm going to change the value. If I divide my numerator by 8, but my denominator by 2, then I'm changing the value of the fraction. We want to keep the value of the fraction the same thing. The value of the fraction the same thing. Julio, 40 divided by 8 is?
By 8 is, wait, so do I just say the top?
Yeah, what's 40 divided by 8? 5. And something you can use here too is 40 divided by 8 equals 5. 40 divided by 8 equals 5. You've already done the math. So if you just look at it here. And the 64 divided by 8, Lamina. 64 divided by 8? 8. So for number 2, that should be your answer on your note card. Remember, if you put the wrong answers on it on your note card, get it out and fix it, please. Oh. Let's look at the 50 over 60. You can get it out when we're done. You don't have to get it out now. So get it out when we're done. You don't have to get it out now. All right. Now, I don't always want to list all the factors of every number. So I can just try and find something that would be a factor of both. And so, Tiago, can you tell me a number that would divide evenly into both 50 and 60? 10. I could use 10, I could use 5, I could use 2. So I could have used any of those. And I just may have to do it twice if I use a different one. Okay, so our common factor. Kira, what is 50 divided by 10? 5. Kira, what is 60 divided by 10? 6. Okay, if the numerator and denominator are within one of each other, it's already simplified. If your numerator is 1 less than your denominator, you can tell already it's simplified. 2/3, 1/2, 17/18. So I know this one's done all the way. Let's look at 18/27. Oh, let's see. Who has not gotten to this problem yet?
Oh.
Has not gotten to this problem yet. All right. Now, Kira, I want you to give me a number that will divide evenly into both 18 and 27. Don't say 9. 3. Awesome. Now, 3 is not my greatest common factor. It's not. But I don't want to make my whole chart. So I'm going to start with dividing it by 3. So, Blake, what is 18 divided by 3? 6. Awesome. And let's see. Bryce, what is 27 divided by 3? 9. Awesome. Okay? Now, I don't think this is in simplest form. In fact, I've seen 6/9 enough to know it's probably not in simplest form. So I could either make my factors of 6 and 9, or I could find a number, I could think of a number, Abby, that divides evenly into 6 and 9. 3. So I can divide both of these by 3 again. And Supriya, what is 6 divided by 3? 2. And 9 divided by 3? 3. Now again, so you don't always have to go through all the steps. You may just figure, oh, I know that 3 goes into it, but you may have to do it twice if you don't find the greatest common factor. Okay, you can find the greatest common factor, you can find a factor of both of them, and then you may have to do it more than once.
So it's 2/3.
So 2/3 is your answer.
I put 6 on.
2/3 is our answer. Let's look at 3/24. Another way we can do this. Another way, so we've found the greatest common factor, we've done it with just finding a factor and doing it more than once. Another way we can do this is we can look at our numerator and see would our numerator go evenly into our denominator? Would 3 go into 24 evenly? Yes, 3 would go into 24 evenly. That would mean that 3 is a factor. It'd be the greatest common factor. And so, Alex, what is 3 divided by 3? 1. Alex, what is 24 divided by 3? 8. So 1/8 would be the answer. So you can always check that too. If your numerator will divide evenly into your denominator, then your numerator is the greatest common factor. Next we have 8/12. 8/12. Shania, what would be a factor of both 8 and 12?
2.
2 is a factor of both 8 and 12. Good. Lakin, what is 8 divided by 2? 4. Lakin, what is 12 divided by 2? 6. Okay, so let's... Aiden, is there a number that goes into both 4 and 6 besides 1? What would it be? 2. I can divide both of these by 2 again. And... Andrea, what is 4 divided by 2? 2. And what is 6 divided by 2? 3. Good. 2/3. And that is in simplest form. You could have just divided them both by, you could have taken it, the greatest common factor actually is 4. But if you divided it by 4, you're still going to get 2/3. Okay? So again, this was the 2 different ways. So the answer to that one was 2/3. We have 30/80ths. 30/80ths. Liam, is 80 a multiple of 30? Will 30 go into 80 evenly? No. So, Liam, give me a number that will go into both 30 and 80 evenly. 10. So I can divide both of these by 10. And Lena, what is 30 divided by 10? 3. And Lena, what is 80 divided by 10? 8. 3/8. Bebeck, is there a number that will divide into 3 and 8 besides 1? No, there isn't. Good. No, there isn't. I mean, I could check. My factors of 3 are 1 and 3. 8, I already have on my paper 1 and 8, 2 and 4. The only thing they have in common is the 1. That means it's already in simplest terms. So 3/8 is the answer for that. And we have 8/48 as our last and final one. Maddie, will 8 divide into 48 evenly?
Yes.
Yes. So that means my greatest common factor is 8. If my numerator goes into my denominator evenly, that means that's my greatest common factor. Abby, what is 8 divided by 8? 1. Abby, what is 48 divided by 8? 6. 1 6. So that's your answer for number 8. So by now you should be able to put the correct answers on all 8 of these on your note card in the turn-in tray so that when I grade it I can put 100 in the grade book. Boom, shakalaka, peace out, God bless, love you, do something kind today.